sports? Do you like beer? Do you love sports and beer? Then you're exactly where you need to be. This is the Huebs Views Brews show on 1252 Sports Chicago. Cheers.
How is everyone doing on this Monday evening? Hope you're doing well. Another episode of Huebs Views and Brews. Some people ask me when they see the promo on either Facebook or on Twitter, what is that number up in the corner? Like last week I had a bunch of sevens all over and I had some sixes, and that was originally going to be how long it was going to be before I retired. But then I decided to retire early in January. So basically what those numbers mean now is that's how many weeks before I turn 65. And I don't know if I'm going to be doing a show 6 weeks from now because I may be hungover from my birthday on Sunday, May 15th. But we'll see. If the White Sox are on a roll, if the Bulls are doing well, we'll see. We'll see. But it is Huebs Views and Brews. We're going to talk a lot of sports. We're going to talk some beer with Ricky Cervantes, hoping to join us from Foreign Exchange. But the other day, on Sunday, as a matter of fact, I went over to Nick and Ivy. I know, big surprise, right? Me at a brewery. And I grabbed a couple of beers. I had the Delwood, and that's what I'm going to start the show with tonight. It was very good. Me, Paul, and Mike were enjoying a few beverages, watching some college basketball. We'll get to that in a second. And the one thing we were also doing was I was experiencing Fozzie football for the first time, and man, I suck. I gotta work at that game. It's just, you push the puck. It's kind of like the newer version of the football with the triangle that you'd kick. This is much, much better. It's very cool. You can check it out. And Fozzie football, if you're interested, you can look at the game, get into a game, put down 1252 Sports, and get a discount. Let me have some of this Delwood before we get into the NCAA. This is really good. This is actually beer left over when Paul and Mike came to watch the football playoffs. Paul brought a case of beer, and I'm slowly but surely working my way through it. So we'll get to that in just a little bit. The NCAA tournament has been wonderful. It's been a lot of fun. St. Peter's made it really good. And even with the upsets and all the other things, you've got the Blue Bloods playing in the Final Four. Kansas, a 1 seed against a 2 seed in Villanova. You also have the 2 seed Duke against number 8 North Carolina. The first time that they are playing in the NCAA tournament, which is going to be cool. So Saturday is going to be a lot of fun. And not only is Saturday going to be fun because of that, but we got an event coming up on Saturday at Orange and Brew. Our guy, Eric Schmidt from Orange and Brew, and Mike from 1252, they got together. We're going to be doing a live remote at Orange and Brew on Saturday around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, something like that. We'll be there. Stop on by. They're going to be having a free throw shooting contest for charity, a charity free throw shooting contest at Orange and Brew on Saturday. It's for the Chicago Positive Movement. I think that's what it's called, as I got it here and I wrote and I can't read it. Tracy Abrams, former Illini. It's his mentoring organization. So we are going to have a free throw shooting contest. Mike and I are going to be doing a live remote from there. We're going to have a lot of fun. It'll be a great time. Cannot wait to get there and do that. And we'll definitely have many, many beverages as we get ready for the Final Four later on in the evening. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the tournament so far. And because I'm not working as much, I don't need to watch as many games. And but I am watching quite a bit of them because it's been fun. A lot of fun games in the tournament, and that's been wonderful. We have a special guest today. She is a super fan from 1252. That's what we'll call her. Nancy Calivas is, she knows her White Sox. She knows her Bulls. And we saw her. She came out to our Megaplex the Game On appearance, and we bring Nancy on to talk some White Sox and Bulls. Nancy, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm doing good. You got to loosen up. You got to just have fun tonight.
And I'm a fellow Cicero alum, so we have that in common as well.
Yes, and then last week I had the old guys from Cicero on, and now I have younger people from Cicero on. They were born in '49, and even I wasn't that old, but that was a lot of fun. I've seen you a couple times, 3 or 4 times. We've seen each other. You came out to come up some of the 1252 appearances and things like that. Like I said, I saw you at Game On last week, and we were talking, or 2 weeks ago, talking about the White Sox and the Bulls. And you said, you got to have me on sometime. I said, perfect. I wrote it down on my phone. I said, come on, you're coming on.
Yes, you did. And it wasn't because you were drunk. You were serious.
Yeah, I wasn't drunk, which shockingly, I wasn't drunk that night. So that was good. Let's talk White Sox, because coming into this season, the White Sox needed to get 2 positions filled, a second baseman and a right fielder. And so far, all they got was Josh Harrison, and they don't have a right fielder. Were you concerned? Were those your concerns, second base and right field? And if so, how do you think they've done? And what are your concerns going into the season?
Well, I know they picked up Hernandez last year to try and fit the role, and clearly he didn't pan out, right?
Right.
So I can't say I know enough about Harrison. You know, what I read on him, I know he's a second-time All-Star. Like, we picking him up, he was just on Oakland. So, I mean, from what I've read, he's coming off, at least on paper, decent, good pickup. You know, so hopefully he'll, fit the position for us. I mean, because that's what hurt us last year is defense.
Yeah.
I mean, I missed that we kind of let go of Madrigal last year for Kimbrel.
Me too.
That we're in this situation. I mean, wasn't a good fit. I mean, they kind of came out in the head, but it's neither here nor there. But, and right outfield, I mean, I know from what I've heard, they're trying to play Andrew Vaughn. I heard that, they're trying to put him in right field, which, I mean, he could play. I mean, even if Adam Engel went out in right field, I mean, I'd be happy with that.
They've got Adam Engel. Right. They have Engel, they have Gavin Sheets, and they have Andrew Vaughn. And yesterday, Vaughn got hurt. I saw that. Yeah, he suffered a hip pointer, but they say he's just going to be out for a week or so. And Gavin Sheets can hit the heck out of the ball, but he's a first baseman, and they're putting him out in right field. Lurie Garcia, we saw him in the playoffs last year. He's not a guy I ever want to see in right field again. But he continues to hit. And they told us, I was watching the game yesterday, and they gave a statistic. Not only is Lurie Garcia the longest tenured White Sox player, but he's the longest tenured player on any team in Major League Baseball.
Surprising, because he's such a utility player that can kind of play everywhere.
Yeah, he's been on the team since 2013. He's been on the team, and nobody in baseball has been on their team as long as Lurie Garcia has.
He can hit.
That. He's a great utility guy, but I don't want to have to see him in right field again.
No. That's what killed us against the Astros. So our defense. I would love that if they would put Engel in right outfield. I mean, why not? You use them at center outfield before we had Roberts, right?
Yep.
Obviously, we're not going to replace him with Roberts. And, Laurie wants to prove himself in in left. So, I mean, Vaughn or Adam out there, and then continue to use Sheets as the DH,
Yeah.
And
they have so much hitting. I mean, with Moncada and Tim Anderson and Abreu and Eloy and Robert. And I'm not a Yasmani Grandal fan at all. I don't think he can catch the ball, and that's tough when your job is catcher. Yes.
Defense is so bad that one, I don't know against who, might have been Cleveland, when we had to go to extra innings and he missed that one play, and then he came back and hit a home run. So I mean, he made up for it, but yeah,
he had all kinds of struggles last year, batting average wise. He did get on base a lot, but when you got a guy like that. He's not supposed to be an on-base guy. He's supposed to be the guy driving people in. And that's the part that bothered me last year. Now, he did have, I think he hit 240 for the season. He did have some power numbers, and it was nice down the stretch when he came back after being hurt.
He got kind of hot right before the playoffs, but then he just went cold, I feel.
Yeah.
Hurt us.
And so he's the catcher. I know a lot of White Sox fans would like the Sox to pick up another defensive catcher. They still have Zach Collins.
And Zavala, right?
Yeah, and Zavala's still there. I don't know if he'll make the roster coming out because they may only go with 2 catchers. But because the season because of being delayed. They're going to have a 28-man roster to start the season, so maybe they can have 3 catchers. But you mentioned Kimbrel and the trade with Madrigal.
Right.
The problem is Kimbrel's still here, and that's a problem for me because they went out and got Joe Kelly, who's going to be hurt at the start of the season.
Oh, he's going to be hurt to start the season?
Yeah, he's not going to start the season, and you're not the only one who didn't know that. I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
I was talking to Mike earlier the other day, and I didn't realize that. But they did pick up Kendall Graveman. He's a heck of a guy in the bullpen. So you've got him, and you got Bummer and Crochet and Hendricks. Their bullpen's great, but remember last year we thought the bullpen was going to be great, and they struggled. They struggled throughout the year.
And I'm a huge fan of Hendricks. Love him, right? I mean, I know from the numbers, I think he probably was like ranked number 1 or 2, but he still kind of frightens me because they've hit homers off of him, you know, right when he comes out. And I just feel like as a closer, you need to set the tone, right? So you can't have a dude come out, like even against the Angels, right? The spring training, like we were up. And then just a few days ago, I caught a little bit of the game, and whoever it was hit a homer off of him. I was like, you can't set the tone like that. You're close. I
know. Yeah.
So he scares me a little bit.
Yeah, me too. He did give up a lot of homers last year. And that's what bothers you now. Solo homers don't bother me as much, you know, as long as you keep the guys off base. But with him, I wish Kimbrel wasn't around. I don't know how that's going to work, what's going to happen. I have still heard that there's a possibility it can still move him before the season starts.
That's what I heard, yeah. But he even knows it himself. Like he's, you know, when they interviewed him, he kind of knew that whatever's going to happen is going to happen pretty much. Like, he knows.
So, so we'll see how it works out with him. There's a couple other options in right field real quickly. Mike Adolfo and also Yelki Cespedes, these other guys. Adolfo came in the other day. He got a hit. He's been hitting pretty well. Cespedes is about a year or so away, but he's he actually hitting the ball well. He's got a couple of homers in the spring. That's good. But you look at the rotation. Are you concerned at all about Michael Kopech? Because they're going to have they're planning on counting on him as one of the guys.
Yes, I read today. You know, of course, he wants to be part of the the fifth man rotation for a starter. I think what happened towards the end of the year too, like right before playoffs or even in playoffs, they just figured him out. Like they figured out his fastball and and his slider. So, kind of scares me a little bit. But, I mean, I'm hoping, he kind of was screwed a little bit, right? Because of the injury and then the shortened season. So last year was kind of his full season. So maybe, he just tired out towards the end, just kind of guess. So hopefully having a full season under his belt. But, yeah, you don't know.
Well, and the other guy, he was pitching yesterday. And not only do I not like him pitching, but he takes so long. And that was Dallas Keuchel. Just takes forever to be throwing the ball. And I'm not a fan of Dallas Keuchel. He got married in the offseason to a really good-looking girl that works for MLB Network. He got married to Kelly Nash.
They all have trophy wives.
Yes, they do, and he does. And so hopefully he's concentrating on the game because he pitched miserable last year.
He does. And I know. Shockingly, he was miserable. He was our weak link.
Excuse me. Yeah, one of them. Yeah, he was between, and then when he got to the playoffs, Lynn and Giolito and Cease, everybody got hit. Nobody could go 3 or 4 innings, and that was really tough. Tom from Bridgeport.
I wasn't a fan of Houston to begin with, man. I knew we were going to lose. I was like, the second we had Houston, I was like, it's over. There's no way.
Yeah. Tom from Bridgeport was asking about Jose Abreu. I love Jose Abreu.
Me too. That's my fave. I can't.
Yeah. I think Jose Abreu can play. He plays well in the field. He plays really good first base, and all he does is drive and runs. I mean, I don't know how you think we should move on from a guy like that. He just continues to. No,
I mean, he is like besides for like Paulie. I mean, he's just that's who you think of, like Frank Thomas, right? Like he's gonna go down in history. I mean, he's classy, like off the field, on the field. He does what's his name? Tony La Russa was smart when he came on. Like he gained Abreu's respect because he knew everyone else was gonna fall. If he got Abreu's respect, then everyone else was gonna fall in as well. So you can't let go of Abreu. I mean, he said it himself. Like this is probably his last year anyway. He doesn't know what else he has left in him.
Well, we'll see. And like I said, he constantly just steps to the plate and does well.
Yeah.
Tom also wants to know who should be the other starter, Crochet or Kopech. Crochet is maybe a few years away from being a starter, but I like him out of the bullpen. I saw him strike out Otani the other day.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was fun.
That was awesome.
That was nice watching him do that. Yeah. So I like him out of the bullpen. And having a lefty like him, you got Bummer who comes in and he's throwing his junk and they can't hit that. As long as Bummer doesn't walk a guy, he has a tendency to let the first guy you face gets on. And then I don't know if it gets into his head or what it is. But it's going to be a fun season. I'm looking forward to it. They should win their division. But the problem is the Yankees are tough. And there's still a lot of good teams around the American League. And then you still got the Dodgers sitting there in the National League. So I'm concerned about the long run. But it's a long, long season. They're going to play 162, even though they had they're starting late. They're going to make those games up. And I'm looking forward to opening day.
Hell yeah. I'm definitely think we'll win our division. Yeah. Although I didn't know Minnesota picked up Alex Correa from Houston. So that's probably
Carlos Correa,
Correa. That's probably our only competition in our division.
Yeah.
With him coming on. But no, we should definitely still win our division. But yeah, I mean, we still have to, it's like the Bulls. We have to be able to beat the best teams. We have to beat Boston. We have to beat New York. We have to beat Houston. We can't always be satisfied with just winning our division, and making the playoffs. We have to at least, make it to the second round,
Right. Yeah. Win a playoff series. That would be nice. Yeah. It leads us into the Bulls that you were talking about. They're going into today. They're 43-31. Mm-hmm. They're in New York playing the Knicks. They've got 8 games remaining. They have 5 of those at home. They're on the road today and tomorrow. They take on New York and Washington. Even Fat Mike's mentioned, the Tigers are going to be better. Back to baseball for a second. But to the Bulls, the Knicks and Washington the next 2 days. Then they're at home for 5 straight. They got the Clippers, Miami, Milwaukee, Boston, Charlotte before wrapping up the season at Minnesota. Now, right now, they find themselves in 5th in the Eastern Conference. Boston and Miami are tied for the top spot. Milwaukee and Philadelphia half game back. Then the Bulls 3.5, Toronto 4.5, Cleveland 5.5. That was a big win over Cleveland on Saturday night.
Huge. It was huge because we took the tiebreaker from Cleveland, which is huge. And then Toronto also, I believe we own the tiebreaker from them, which another team that's trying to fight, have a playoff spot. But yeah, I mean, Miami actually is on a 4-game losing streak, so they're kind of falling off a little bit. I want us to stay in the 5th or 6th spot. 5th is good. Let's stay in the 5th. We'll play a team that more than likely we can beat or at least compete against. I do not want to see Philly number 1. I mean, in the 3 or 4 games, we have not showed up at all against them.
They can't stop Embiid. They just there's nobody on the team that can stop him. Mm-mm. Not that a lot of people can around the NBA. But you're right. Philadelphia's 4 right now, but the odds are the way Miami's struggling right now. Maybe they drop down. Who knows? And we get a chance to see Miami later this weekend. I think it's Saturday. The Bulls play Miami at the United Center. I'll be watching the NCAA games, the Final Four, but the Bulls are playing Miami that night. So that'll be a big game. See how things go there. But defensively has been the problem. They've been giving up. What was it? Not the game last week, not the Cleveland game, the game before that. The Bulls gave up 40 points in the 4th quarter. I mean, they were right there and then just
that
got
was the New Orleans game, probably.
It might have been,
game. So it was in New Orleans. We definitely should have taken that game, and we didn't. A game we should have taken.
Right.
Defensively has definitely been our Achilles heel lately. Rebounding, we're just not getting the long rebounds whatsoever. Yesterday they did something smart a lot with Vooch. They were double teaming a lot with him, and Levert, I think they were causing some trouble. So that was good. Challenged them, but I don't know. Well, I just feel like we just need to play smarter, not harder right now. We need to play our game.
Well, and Vooch played. I mean, Vooch is a guy. If his shot isn't falling, then he's got to get inside. He's got to do some other things. He's got to rebound. He's got to do other things. He's been struggling. And one of the guys that has been one of the highlights of watching Bulls basketball this year has been Ayo. And, it's different coming from college and then going to the NBA. You play a lot more games, and it looks like he's starting to wear down just a little bit as we get closer to the playoffs.
Yes. And I did see that. I was kind of reading an article on that maybe the other teams have kind of figured him out. Although
Yeah.
I still like him on the court. He does play solid D. He has long arms. I still am more confident with him on the court versus Kobe White. So I like him, and like him and Caruso yesterday were really good on the court. And I think him and Vooch really formed a good chemistry when Caruso was out, in the post. And he definitely played good of a point guard, setting him up. So I feel like they figured him out, but he's also good at running plays and like making, layups and like driving it down, the baseline. You'll see it out like just yesterday. Anyone who watched the game, I mean, he had like 6 crucial points towards, the end of the game, so they figured him out, but I'm still confident with him on the court.
One thing about Kobe White, though, is Kobe's the kind of guy that can come in and go off. He can come in and start hitting those threes. And actually, the one thing I've enjoyed watching the Bulls this year, obviously at the start of the season, was a lot more fun with Lonzo Ball playing.
Yes.
And it's a shame he hasn't been able to come back. But the Bulls are starting to play basketball the way the rest of the NBA is.
Yeah.
And that's nice to see with Billy Donovan as the coach. Now, even getting into the playoffs, as the season started, I think a lot of Bulls fans got a little bit out over their skis. They thought, this is a great team. We're going to be really good. If they can win a playoff series, that would be great. I think with all the injuries they had this year, with Caruso being out for so long, and with Lonzo Ball being out for so long, I think next year is the year that they're going to be able to actually make something happen in the Eastern Conference. This year, I think, is a year that we see what they can be, but I don't think we're going to see the final result this year.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, when we were number one, we knew we weren't going to sustain that. I mean, obviously you're thrilled as insanely long Bulls fan. Like you're on cloud 9, right? You're like, yes, but you knew you couldn't sustain that. Milwaukee was going to get better. Boston was going to get better. Philadelphia was going to catch up to you at one point.
Right.
I mean, love DeRozan, the pickup. How could you not? LaVine, I've been a fan since the beginning when people knocked him. When we traded him for Butler, it's always been a LaVine fan. Okay, number one, I appreciate he was never scared, right? Like other people who've had meniscus, ACLs, like never drove it to the lane. He had zero fear. Like, just love him. And he cares about excelling his game, and going to the Olympics. I mean, I truly believe when you play with the best, it definitely amps up your game.
Sure.
I mean, are there still things to tweak with LaVine? Yeah. I mean, the step back 3 all the time, the fadeaway 3, it's like, bro, just drive it to the lane. Like, do your game, like he still does some questionable things, but I mean, we definitely should pay him. I mean, there's no reason we should let go of him.
No, we've seen something this year also that we had not seen with him, is he actually is trying to play some defense. And I think that's Billy Donovan too, because he is not, he's always been the guy that, he didn't do anything on the defensive side for, as far as I was concerned. He didn't do nearly enough.
Right.
And defense, you're not born with defense. You just want to. Defensive rebounding is want to, knowing where to be, hustling and things like that. And anybody can play defense. And I think slowly but surely he's starting to get there. And if you want to be one of the top players in the league, you got to play. It helps if you can play both sides of the ball.
100%. You have to. And I absolutely, Caruso being on the team is helping him. You see him always coaching. And, like I said, I just feel like when you play with the best, like anyone who's an athlete in heart, or just know that when you're on a team, you want to play to the best of your capability. You don't, and he realizes that this is his chance. Like he's finally going to make, knock on wood, like they're finally going to make the playoffs this year. Like, it's like Jose Abreu. When he like ran into that player, had contusion, he was ready to come back in the game. Right. Like, you don't want to look like the wiki sklink at this point. And so I'm happy with that. I mean, he was out for a few games, but he's like, I got to get back in there,
Right.
So
there's no doubt. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm happy. We exceeded our expectations. No one thought we were even going to be this good this year. I mean, we haven't made a playoff since 2017 against Boston, which I still believe if Rondo didn't get hurt, we would have beaten Boston. That's it.
I agree.
We were up 2-0.
I was working at ESPN and I got in so many arguments with people, especially with Carmen DeFalco. I got in so many arguments because I said they could have won the game. He said they're not that good. I said either was Boston at that time, and the Bulls had the opportunity. They could have won that series.
And Rondo got hurt, and that's when we had D Wade. So I really believe we could have taken that series. But I'm just excited. We're back. You know, I don't want to just make the playoffs. I want to stay in the 5th spot. I'm happy there. Let's be content, you know, play a team that we can win. And, you know, who knows what will happen in the second round.
Go from there. Okay, well, you were nervous to start. You seem okay right now.
I could talk for hours now. I'm good.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. We'll do it again sometime. We'll do it again maybe when the White Sox are playing and the Bulls are out of the playoffs or something like that.
I'm trying to borrow Mike, you know, Megan's husband, go to Boston with him to watch the game May 5th and 6th in Boston. So
that'd be nice. That would be nice. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad we were able to get you on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. I love talking White Sox and Bulls. It's fun talking with you. We'll do it again soon, okay?
So much. Have a great night.
Okay. Thanks, Nancy. That's Nancy Kalivas, and Nancy's been a fan of 1252. She knows Mike's wife, Megan, very well, and I sit around and talk with her when we're at some of the events, and I'm saying, okay, well, you know your stuff, and so it's great. It was nice to have her on. We're also hoping to have Courtney Finicum on. Hopefully I'm saying her last name correctly. We were going to have her on next week, but I'm not going to do a show next week because the final championship game of the NCAA is going to be going on, and she can't come out on the 11th, so we'll get her on. She does a podcast also with Mark Carmen. Great guy, works over at WGN, has worked at WGN and does stuff. So we'll get him on, get her on eventually, and a big White Sox fan and a Denver Broncos fan, and now she's very happy because they have a quarterback. So we'll do that too. Let's take a break. We come back. We're going to talk some beer. It's Huebs Views and Brews. I'm finishing up this Delwood. I don't know if I can finish it during the commercials. And we come back. We'll talk with Ricky Cervantes of Foreign Exchange Brewing, talk some beer, talk about his brewery, talk about the beer he makes and where you can find it and all kinds of things. We come back after this on 1252 Sports.
Hello, this is Paul from Nick and Ivy Brewing Company. We are located at 1026 South State Street in historic downtown Lockport, Illinois. We are very excited to be partnering up with the Fat Mike Chicago Sports Show as well as the 1252 brand because we are one of the few Chicagoland breweries that embrace sports and sports culture. Come in for a fresh brewed beer made right here in Lockport while catching the game of your favorite team. Stay for the live music that we have booked every weekend. Or just come for a cozy atmosphere to enjoy a good conversation with a friend, loved one, or complete stranger. Nick and Ivy makes you feel right at home no matter what the occasion is. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook by searching for Nick and Ivy Brewing Company. Visit our website for our up-to-date tap list or to go shopping on our online store at nickivybrewing.com. That's Nikivy brewing.com. Come in today for a fresh brewed beer born and raised in Lockport, Illinois.
Megaplex Sports Complex is a 78,000 square foot center filled with hardwood and turf. They have baseball rentals with batting cages, softball, soccer, lacrosse, gymnastics, cheerleading, cornhole, basketball, volleyball, and pickleball. It also features a bar and grill with the best pizza and beef sandwiches around. They cater to events such as birthdays, graduations, corporate parties, as well as memorabilia shows. Check them out at Megaplex Sports Complex, 15301 South Bell Road in Homer Glen, 708-966-4210.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Darren, licensed real estate broker with Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group in Homer Glen. Are you looking to buy or sell? Have you been disappointed in the past? The Jonathan Darren team with Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group focuses on providing you with a concierge level of service during the process of buying or selling. We are a service-oriented team with a fresh and professional approach to selling real estate. Our goal is to combine knowledge, skills, and passion to exceed our clients' expectations, and most of all, we truly care. We are a knowledgeable real estate team focused on offering expertise and innovative solutions for our clients. The Jonathan Darren team has 5 full-service real estate brokers and a dedicated full-time marketer servicing all of Chicagoland. We will customize a detailed plan around your timeline for a sale, purchase, investment, estate, or other needs. Real estate transactions can be stressful, but don't need to be. Let us handle it for you. Visit our website, homesbyjdt.com, or call 708-308-1938 today. Expect better in real estate. Choose the Jonathan Darren team.
Fozzie Football, are you ready, brother? Real football action on a glossy game surface played shuffle style. Slide a shuffle puck at pass or run targets, and a free mobile app keeps track of every game detail. Easy to learn, but this game of skill is difficult to master. Take care of the ball, or turnovers will kill your drive. The game is guaranteed to get your competitive fire burning, and it's perfectly sized to take anywhere. The park, a barbecue, your next tailgate, or fun at home on game nights. Fozzie Football is simply the best, most realistic and competitive game of football available anywhere. Add defense when your skill improves and take the game to the next level. The perfect mix of fast action and real football drama, where a last-second Hail Mary can break hearts or make champions.
I got some work to do on that Fozzie Football. I was brutal. I lost 28-6 because I finally scored a touchdown and then went for 2, and that was bad. Did not make it. Welcome back. Huebs Views and Brews here on 1252 Sports. And I've been trying to get this guy in for a little while because he makes great beer, and I wanted to find out more about Foreign Exchange Brewing. So we bring in Ricky Cervantes from Foreign Exchange Brewing to talk about his brewery. What's up, Ricky?
Hey, Fred. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I know. I've been trying. You're a busy man. You're always busy. You're canning stuff. You're making stuff, and you're always in other places. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I was drinking the Delwood, but now I had stopped over at Orange and Brew and picked up Between Two Parallels. I'm looking here. It says a third-year beer by Foreign Exchange. Explain what this is and what's a third-year beer?
So this is a little bit of a two-part project that we started out. So this is we are just entering into our third year of brewing beer in the Chicagoland area as of last month. So what that means is that I wanted to put out this beer. This is the non-barrel aged version of it at the beginning of the year, and then at the end of the year, which will be sometime in February of next year. My game plan is to put out a Four Roses barrel aged version of this beer out. And we actually price this pretty low to kind of encourage people to buy some extra cans to kind of hold on to it because I feel like this is one that's going to age pretty well. And that way you can also try the non-barrel age and the barrel age side by side at the conclusion of that third year.
That's great. That's awesome, man. It pours great. And hold on. And it tastes wonderful. And I was wondering here because usually you don't see many stouts that have two different kinds of vanilla in it. And this one has Madagascar vanilla and Tahitian vanilla and marshmallow. Is that weird? Is that strange? Have you done that before, having two different vanillas in?
Yeah, in other beers I've done in the past, I've done a handful of vanilla just to kind of create a little bit of complexity in that flavor. The reason you don't see too much of it is just because it's expensive. Vanilla beans are not cheap. Vanilla extract is not cheap. Any kind of real, genuine vanilla products are not cheap. And we use the finest quality ones we can get. I just wanted to, like I said, kind of create complexity with the vanilla. So like with the Madagascar, it kind of brings a little bit of that marshmallowy to complement the marshmallow flavor that we have in there. And then the Tahitian gives a little bit of I get like a candied cherry on note on there as well. And that's usually pretty characteristic of Tahitian vanilla as well.
Yeah, it's really, really super smooth. I know a lot of people, I'll drink stouts any time of the year. A lot of people just like drinking stouts. Yeah, when it's cold out or during the winter months. But stouts are great, and there's so many of them. I went on your website just to look, and you got it written as you guys you're a small batch and oak aged ales is what you make, and 2020 best new brewery in Illinois by the porchdrinking.com guys. But you are a small brewery. Because you're still, I'm looking, and for the most part, you brew most of your stuff up with Church Street, correct?
Everything comes out of Church Street at the moment. We're in the process of building out our own space in downtown Aurora. hoping to have that up and running sometime this summer. But in the meantime, yeah, the Lisa at Church Street has been, awesome in getting us in there and letting us crank beer out of her space and share that space with those guys. We've been at it for, like I said, just over 2 years now. We're going into our third year.
I think the first time I heard about your beer, and you probably were making it before that, but the Kitty Wampus was probably the first time I heard of Foreign Exchange, the Imperial Coffee Porter. I'm not a coffee guy. I've mentioned it before. I've never had coffee before. And one day I was drinking a coffee beer, and when we went to commercials, I actually had to get another one because I'm not a coffee guy. But your Kitty Wampus, has that been the biggest beer that you've made, or one of the most popular ones that you've made?
Yeah, that's probably by and large our flagship beer. That's the one we've brewed the most times in terms of with regards to different variants. So we kind of brewed a very similar version of that beer, but with different treatments to it. I'd like to have that guy come back soon. I've got a couple different barrel aged versions of that in bourbon barrels over at Church Street right now, which you can expect to see later this year. That's definitely our most popular beer of all the ones that we brew.
Hey, for those people who don't know, probably myself included, when you mention barrel aged, and we talk about it a lot, everybody makes some barrel aged stuff. How long is the optimum time to have something in a bourbon barrel aged or a different kind of barrel aged?
Until it's ready. There is no clear answer because each barrel really does have its own unique fingerprint in regards to where you can have two barrels from the same distillery and you can get different characteristics out of those. And if you blend those together and they work, then it could be good to go right then and there, after, anywhere from 6, 8, 10 months or so. However, I like to try to strike a good balance between getting some of that like bourbon flavor out of there, while also still picking up on actual oak characteristics. And that usually requires being in that barrel for a little bit longer. I have a big barley wine, just to give you a couple of examples. The last barrel-aged Kitty Wampus I put out was in there for 11 and a half months. I've got a barley wine in barrels right now that's right around just over the 14-month mark right now.
Okay.
I've got a Kitty Wampus in Eagle Rare barrels right now that's right around the 1 year mark right now. And I'm just going to keep letting those ride a little bit longer. It's just a matter of going in there every few months and pulling nails, taking a little sample and tasting it and seeing when it's ready. And the beer will let you know.
Are you, most of the people I've had on here, they've always given me similar answers, but how did you get started in this whole brewery thing?
I've been a big fan of craft beer for well over a decade at this point. And I had a lot of really fun ideas. I got to know some people who have gone on to, have their own breweries and I would always have, ideas of things that didn't exist in the market yet, or maybe things, ways that certain beers could be better. Obviously no one wants to hear like some home brewer guy, it's like telling you how to make your beer better. But like, I had ideas on how to improve things, or like, oh, wouldn't it be really cool if we did this?
Right.
No one else has done this before, or some obscure brewery in the West Coast or whatever is doing this. We should do this here in Chicago. And after a while, I just kind of like, well, I'll just give it a shot myself. And I figured out how to, dump a lot of batches in the process. But yeah, I just started homebrewing and sharing my beers at beer events and beer releases and bottle shares, and it kind of just took, created legs of its own and took off.
I talk so much with so many people here about, and we've seen it with what happened at Skeleton Key and what happened at Twisted Hippo and everything else, how the community is so strong. And it's pretty amazing how everybody seems to help everybody else.
It really is unlike anything else. It's unlike any industry. I mean, I've worked in many industries over the years, and there's really no other industry like the brewing industry in terms of how it's like a big club. I mean, honestly, like everyone helps each other out. I was hanging out with people from 2, 3, 4 different breweries yesterday. We all hang out together, and like it's just the sense of camaraderie there between not only industry people but also like even craft beer fans.
Sure.
There's a lot of love there. It's unlike anything else.
Well, and it was funny because I saw you at the Westmont Winter Beer Fest, and I had I still have the whole sheet from the festival. And you had two awesome beers, but the one that I was telling everybody, I was walking by, I said, hey, have you tried the mango habanero yet? You got to go try it. It's a triple hazy IPA, it was 11%, and the mango got you in front, and the habanero got you in the back, and it was awesome. When you do a thing like that, how do you know which beers you're going to take? Is it just stuff you're working on, stuff you have not canned, stuff you have canned? How do you do that?
I've been kind of using Beer Fest as a little bit of R&D, to be completely honest, to the point where I'll take ideas that I've either want to execute or have, toy around with the idea, or maybe it's something that I want to play around with again, something that, kind of revisit something. I have some kegs laying around of a Tropico, which is a triple IPA that I released. And I've been toying around with the idea of doing a mango habanero beer. My friend David Files at Energy City does a really great one. And I wanted to kind of try my hand at that. And so that beer in itself is very mango tropical fruit forward. So it seemed like a perfect candidate to pair that with. And it was a winner.
Yeah, it was really amazing. The other one wasn't bad either. The Life is Delicious, the strawberry milkshake double IPA. And I know you have canned that in the past, right?
Yes. So that was a beer that we have put out. It's a double IPA, milkshake IPA with strawberry puree and Madagascar vanilla. And what we ended up doing is I wanted to kind of not only boost the strawberry on that a little bit further, but also I'd been playing around with a cotton candy flavoring that I've been meaning to play around with, and I really wanted to do that. And I did some small batch trials, just kind of doing in a glass with a can of that beer, and I really liked the way it came out. So did a full keg of that just for that one event, and got some really great feedback. I had one of my friends actually just text me the other day, and she was like, "You need to can that beer. When are you canning that?" In due time is the answer to that.
Now, I've got a list of all the stuff that you have canned. You got the Foreign Chemistry and Chicago-ish, which was a Pilsner, and Unified Field Theory, which was a West Coast double IPA. Life is Delicious, which we were just talking about. I got one here, the Scroll and the Lamb is that with Salamoth, a collaboration with the two, or did you just make it there?
It was a collaboration with Salamoth. And it was brewed at Salamoth. We actually brewed two versions of that beer, which not a lot of people know about. One very high gravity version that went into barrels. And then the version that everyone is aware of, which actually is the label is right here.
Yes.
The other version, which is a little bit lower gravity, still a very, very full-bodied beer. But yeah, so that beer was actually inspired by a collaboration that they did with the brewery back in 2014 called Conquest.
Okay.
It was the same exact adjuncts, but on a Belgian golden ale. And that was one of the first brewery releases where I went to a brewery to go stand in a line to wait for beer. And not only is there a sentimental attachment there with Salamoth, because that was my neighborhood brewery, being in Naperville, and I was on the east side of Aurora, the far east side, so not only the sentimental attachment there, but also the brewery is my favorite brewery, and that was one of my first releases that I lined up for. So I'm like, hey, if we're gonna do a collab, like, let's revisit that idea, and that's how that kind of came to be.
I remember I was at Salamoth the day they opened and their first anniversary. I've not been back there a lot since then, because since then, so many other breweries have opened up. It's amazing. And, but and when they started, they were making basically just Belgian styles, but they've kind of branched off from there, haven't they?
They've completely turned that brewery around. They still do, they have a really great Belgian pale right now, which is very reminiscent of like Allagash White. But they, on top of that too, they're making some phenomenal hazy beers, some great stouts. They started that Hidden Hand offshoot, which is kind of pushing the bar as far as hoppy beers go. Like, if you haven't been recently, go check it out. They have absolutely beautiful. They have it's called Salamoth Community Forest. So they have heated A-frames, little bubbles and stuff with tables. It's a really cool experience in terms of tap rooms, as far as tap rooms go. And the beer isn't half bad either.
No, I remember one day, and this is way back when, because they had just opened up, and then they did they brought some of their beers to Brixie's, which is now another Imperial Oak. And I went there, and it was like nobody else there. So I just sat and talked to them. And at the time, it was John Barley. And we just sat and talked and chatted and had a great time. And I got home. I'm not sure how, but that night. But it was really a wonderful place. And now, it's funny because how it's all changed now, Brixie's and become Imperial Oak and everything else. You've got three different small cakes beers, and you got the small cakes peach, the peanut butter skies, and the tiramisu. Talk a little bit about those.
Those stem from essentially the beer that was kind of my launching point, to be honest. I was given an opportunity to scale up one of my home brew recipes at Oswego Brewing Company with Mark Wilson over there. And in addition to it being a collab, I wanted to also rope in small cakes Aurora, because we're going to be up in Aurora. I love their cupcakes. And then Sal, the owner, is a good friend of mine. So I wanted to bring him on board. We did a beer called Triple Chocolate Cupcake. And that was the beer that effectively, it sold out the same day. It was a huge release. I was blown away that anyone even knew who I was and was willing to, to drive out to Oswego to buy one of my beers. But we ended up selling out, and that's the beer that effectively, kind of became my launching point. And I was like, okay, maybe I have something here. So when I started Foreign Exchange, I kind of wanted to bring them on board with me and to do a rotating series of cupcake inspired beers that are kind of inspired by their line of cupcakes. And I didn't want to just limit it to stouts. I wanted to also kind of incorporate some of those flavors into IPAs as well. I'm going to continue exploring that in the future with different beer styles, but that's where we've come so far.
Okay. Now, you probably won't have an answer for this. If you do, people will get excited. But how close are you to having your place? Because I know when we were at the Westmont Winter Beer Fest, there was an address for a tap room on the sign that was behind you. How close are things going, and how close is it?
We're chugging along. That's the $1 million question. That's the question that I get asked on a daily basis. I'm shooting for sometime this summer. I don't have a definitive date yet. We're still hammering that out, but yeah. When I have a definitive date, I will be shouting that from the rooftops, and I'll be posting updates as I have more updates on our social media.
Well, let me ask you another question too, because I know a lot of people, when they first start out, I make the beer, I can the beer, I distribute the beer. Is that what you're doing right now? You're doing everything?
Yeah. I wear all the hats. That's why I'm such a tough guy to get a hold of. All last week I was distributing all around Chicagoland, all the way up, downtown, south side, far south suburbs, all the way up to McHenry County, and Rockford. And then this week, I'm waiting to hear back on a bottling date for one of my collaborations down in Champaign. But I plan on being on Central Illinois this week, distributing down there as well. So I'm literally all over the place. I'm very much wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, you do. I mean, and it's funny too, because I've told a couple of people that I contacted Rick. He doesn't get back to me. They go, he's always busy. He's canning here. He's doing this here. But it's funny. FOBAB came up, and FOBAB every year. I didn't get a chance to go this year, which is killing me because I heard it was wonderful. They did a lot of stuff outside, but you guys had a collaboration beer, and you guys ended up winning medals. So talk about that beer that you guys made.
Yeah, so I put in 2 beers myself. One of them was Barrel Aged Kitty Wampus, and then Clockwork, which is my personal favorite beer that I make. It's a English barley wine. But then also whiskey. Our friends at Whiskey Hill, we ended up doing a 3-way collaboration with Whiskey Hill Brewing in Westmont. The guys from Midwest Brew Review, Brian specifically, we ended up brewing up one of his Belgian saisons. It was his recipe. However, we use my house wild culture, which is a mix of different sour cultures that I've been using on a homebrew scale for years. And we ended up just for funsies inoculating some wine barrels that we filled with those beers with that, just to see what would happen. And that was the base beer that effectively became Solar Fusion, which was what Whiskey Hill entered into the fruited wild category. and ended up winning a gold with that, which was really awesome. Yeah, we didn't get any for our solo beers, but I'll take that. I'll take that.
No, I mean, that was very, very cool because I actually had I went to Whiskey Hill and tried that that same weekend. They had it on tap at their place at Whiskey Hill, and I tried it. It was amazing. And then I saw that like a day or two later, that you guys won the gold for that. That's awesome. When that stuff's coming up, how do you go about submitting a beer? I mean, they have a million different categories, and like you said, the category that you submitted for was wild fruit and all the other stuff. But how do you come up say, hey, this is something I want to make sure I try to get in there?
So basically, as a brewery, I think you're able to submit 2 beers per location. So with me, I mean, my flagship beer and my favorite beer, it was a no-brainer as far as which ones to enter. But with Whiskey Hill, he had won a gold previously for his Imperial Stout. He had won runner-up best in show last year. And so I think he wanted just to kind of change it up. He did submit another Imperial Stout this past year, but I think he just wanted to kind of change it up and kind of diversify. And we really liked how that beer was tasting when we pulled samples out of those wine barrels. So we decided to get that bottled up and submit that. And that's that kind of went all the way.
Okay, so for the fans of Foreign Exchange, if they did not get this, what's next? What's the next thing we can expect to see from Foreign Exchange in cans?
In cans, it'll probably be a little bit. Like I said, I'm kind of focusing on getting the building built out.
Sure.
We are bottling. I did a collaboration of an actual barley wine with Triptych Brewing down in Savoy.
Okay.
Really good friends of mine. And I believe that we're bottling that guy this week. I'm not entirely sure. I would say follow Triptych social media as far as release details. I don't know if any of that's making its way up here into the suburbs, but that's being bottled this coming week. Or this week, I should say. I want to say, I'm waiting. Like I said, I'm waiting on confirmation on that. But that's what you can expect next. Is going to be a big barley wine that was conditioned on Amberana wood. It gave it a really awesome, like cake spicy almost. It's got a lot of complexity. It's a really fun beer. And then to drive that even further, we were tasting through some of Anthony's barley wine barrels when we were down there. And we kind of decided to also blend some of his barrel-aged barley wine stock into this beer. So it's a blended barley wine that's aged on Amberana wood. Really fun beer. Definitely do not miss out on that.
Jeez, that's amazing. And it's funny because I had
out.
told a while back, my girlfriend had told me, she goes, you got an addiction. I said, what do you mean? I said, I can stop drinking whatever I want. And she said, no. She says, you have to have the stuff when it comes out, the new stuff. Whatever comes out, you got to have it. And like you rattle it off, and I see stuff from every brewery will put something on that something's coming out. And she's right. I got to try and track something down as soon as it comes out. It's amazing, but there's so many great things. Now, you said you're going to have a barrel-aged one of these?
Yes.
You're between...
Yeah, so we brewed a full batch of this, and we ended up filling we pulled half of the batch and filled it into 4 Roses barrels.
Okay.
I'm hoping that that's going to pull a lot of oak character because those are very, very, very wet barrels. Yeah, we ended up dumping a ton of bourbon out of those that were just dripping wet.
Sure.
So hoping it's not too boozy. Even more reason to pick up some more cans in case you got to water it down a little bit.
Yeah. No, they were very good.
You can expect to see that about a year from now.
Yeah, and for the people that are watching that have not got them, I know that Orange and Brew has some in the neighborhood here, and there's a lot of places. Obviously, you were out driving around, and you put a lot of miles on your cars, I'm sure, with all delivering everything. So I'm glad I finally got you on. You got making some great stuff. This is amazing. I didn't think just in a half hour, I didn't think I'd get that far, but I have.
You're gonna be sleeping great tonight.
I am going to be sleeping very, very well. So I appreciate finally getting you on. I will definitely see you out there. I see you all the time, and cannot wait to see you again. Ricky, thanks a lot.
Cheers, Fred. Thanks for having me.
Yep, definitely cheers. Ricky Cervantes, great stuff. He makes amazing beer, and you just heard, just by listening to him, you could hear how much he puts into trying to develop new beers and new styles and things like that, and different flavors and that. And this Between Two Parallels is so good. I got it. Like I said, I'll be at Orange and Brew along with Fat Mike. We'll be there coming up on Saturday. We've got a nice little live remote we'll be doing at Orange and Brew as we set up for the live free throw shooting contest. We'll be there. Come on over, say hi. They have some of the Between Two Parallels. I know that's where I got this one. And you can definitely try these. 2 more beer things before I have a What's Up Fred's can. And it was pretty easy after last night's TV. So we'll talk about that in a second. Good news and bad news. The bad news is Little Key is closing. Little Key is what Skeleton Key opened as they were trying to rebuild their old brewery. The other side of the building, they had a garage door. You walked on in. Adam was there, and Emily, Paul, John, they had their beers there and all the collaborations they did. The good news is Skeleton Key is reopening on Thursday. The facility is going to be reopened Thursday. You'll be able to get some beer. I saw Emily yesterday. I stopped over there. It's research. I had to stop there for a beer. It was her last day of Little Key, and she said, I got a lot of work to do till in the next 5 days, and I cannot wait till Thursday. Head on out to Skeleton Key. Also, Elmhurst Brewing, which I'm going to with a bunch of people later on in April. Not Skeleton Key. Elmhurst Brewing. Hopefully, Elmhurst Brewing is ready for us because I'm bringing like 12 people there. And because they got great food and their beers are awesome. They have a Mayfest coming up on May 14th. 2 sessions, 1 to 4 and 5 to 8. It's $50 a person. And they set it a limit. Only 100 people per slot, per time slot. So you may want to contact them. They may be filled already. May 14th is coming up quickly. May 15th, my birthday. I'm not expecting any gifts. I swear to God, I'm not. I am a terrible gift receiver. So those are a couple things. And I've got a What's Up Fred's can. And we'll do that in just a second.
Well, maybe it's just because you're ugly.
Ugly? You gotta be kidding me.
Time for What's Up Fred's Can on 1252 Sports Chicago.
When I worked at ESPN, or when I worked at the Score, and there were award shows, it was so easy the next day because you could rip one thing or another thing. Yesterday, they started the show with a Beyonce song. Before they saw anything, before they did introductions, before they did anything, Beyonce song. Awful. Absolutely awful. Okay? Terrible. Terrible way to start a show. They were out of order. They did some stuff where they didn't get enough of the movies in early, and they were doing they did a great job yesterday with giving away the technical awards. They just rattled it off. We got in technical, it's this, and this, and the winner is this. And so it made it a lot easier. But there was some really, really bad stuff. And then yesterday, the whole thing with Chris Rock and Will Smith. Now, I've got a goddaughter who had alopecia. Now, for those who don't know, alopecia is like an illness that you lose hair. Your hair comes in, it's real splotchy and things like that. It's not life-threatening, okay? It's just, if you're Jada Pinkett Smith, you're going to have, shaved head or whatever. Now, Chris Rock probably went a little too far with that joke, but Will Smith going up and slapping it was a joke. And the people that think that was planned, you're completely wrong. There's no way that was planned because of what you saw. And if you on TV here, it was blacked out and they cut it out and did all these other things. But in Japan and elsewhere, you heard the whole thing. And Will Smith was laughing at the joke until he looked over at his wife and she was none too happy. And I'm not going to get into the other things with Will Smith and his wife because apparently there's been a lot of other stuff going on with those two. But if you're Will Smith, what you should have said is you should have walked to seen Chris Rock and said, listen, man, she doesn't appreciate being made fun of her problem. Instead of slapping him, that was a bullshit response to what Chris Rock said. Okay. And I liked Amy Schumer. A lot of people didn't like the 3 hosts. I liked Amy Schumer. I thought they did some weird stuff, but Amy Schumer I thought was very, very funny. I really like Wanda Sykes. She was good too. But What's Up My Can is just award shows. The show did not end until almost 10:35. And I watched the whole thing, start to finish. Yeah, I did. 7 till 10:30. It was brutal. It went way too long. Sorry for the coughing. But Will Smith's acceptance award, he went way too long. And you're right. They need Ricky Gervais back. Ricky Gervais for the Golden Globes is the best because everyone's drinking and Ricky Gervais just rips everybody. And that's the way it should be. He's very, very good at it. Like I said, I thought Amy Schumer was really good. Wanda Sykes always funny. And Regina King, okay. They did some weird stuff that I wasn't really a fan of. But the award shows just go. There's no reason for it to go so long. I know that the technical people and all the others, give them their own separate day. Do that some other day. I didn't see hardly any of the movies. I have some of them on DVD because I used to work at a radio station and being in a union where they would send them to me to vote on them. So I have Coda and a bunch of other stuff. So I'll eventually watch them all. So I'm glad Coda won. Very, very happy for them. But yeah, so that's What's Up My Can. Award shows and Will Smith. There was a better way to handle that. And I hope your wife's proud of you right now. So that's fine because you were defending her. And I understand that part. But you could have defended her easier by just walking up and having Chris Rock apologize. Okay? That would have been easier. That would have been better. Because right now, this is going to go on forever. And I try not to listen to too many people talk about it today. But I heard just enough. So if you get a chance, Between Two Parallels, the beer that Ricky Cervantes done, his Foreign Exchange Brewing, he's cranking stuff out, making great stuff. Cannot wait till his tap room opens up in Aurora. Thanks to Nancy Calivas, who joined us earlier. We talked some White Sox. We talked some Bulls. Thanks to you for listening. Don't forget, Saturday, Orange and Brew in downtown Downers Grove. We'll be there. Me and Fat Mike, we got a live remote right before the NCAA Final Four. And, of course, they put those in prime time. So by then, hopefully, Mike and I can focus on the games after we're at Orange and Brew and everything else like that. So have a great week. We will talk to you not next week. Next week, NCAA championship game. Be back here on April 11th, right here, 1252 Sports and Huebs Views and Brews. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for listening to 1252 Sports Chicago.